how I'm making my best gains after 16 years in the gym. I'm gonna run you guys through 3 major changes I've made in the last 6 months of training, where I feel this past half year has been some of my most productive training than any time in the last decade. And just seeing the first 5 years, because there's so much newbie gains, I'd argue that this is kind of the best training maybe I've ever had. So let's get started. The first thing that I have changed is I've made it more of a focus to train to failure. So now I'm pushing failure. So what I was doing before then, and I'd say the last probably more so 5 to 10 years, I was looking at more reps in reserve, leaving some in the tank and not letting it all out for a failure on a set. And so with this kind of target, the reason I was doing that was it was thought that you can get just as good of gains by leaving up to 5 reps in reserve than if you went all the way to failure, and you would have less fatigue that would happen. However, the problems with this line of thinking, or like kind of what I was noticing as I implemented it, was progression was a little bit less objective. I'm like, did I just leave 2 reps in the tank versus the 1 rep in the tank that I wanted? Was that a PR? Was it not? And so I was kind of not sure. And then you also are holding you're holding yourself back a little bit, so you don't get to fully, dial in your mentality. You're like, all right, go hard, but not too hard, but like really go for that rep, but like, is that 1 or 2? And so you're kind of thinking more than you're doing sometimes. And for me, that just like wasn't keeping it, again, objective. I'm a very kind of like, just give me the numbers. So solutions with this, kind of what I decided to change after experiencing this for some time. So now I just train to failure every set. Mike Mentzer, you know, there's a lot of people that just dive deep, heavy duty, just train to failure. I think he may have been the 1 set to failure guy. And I've seen this happening. And there was more recent research that came out that did show there is a value to taking your sets to failure versus leaving up to 5 reps in reserve. There actually is a little bit of gains we can grab by going all the way to 0 reps in reserve, full failure, rather than, keeping some, reps left in the tank. So for me, I'm gonna be sleeping anyway. I got rest days anyway. Let me pick up every breadcrumb of gains that I can per set. So I'm gonna just go to failure. And so that was recent research that did come out. So now my training, put it as simple as possible, just beat the logbook. Because and this is something I want you guys, so that's probably a writer downer, implement that. Just try to beat the logbook. Take a good logbook, write down your training, how many reps you did, what weight you used, and then the next week, try to beat it by 1 rep or try to add 5 pounds, and just the smallest increment of progression, and just keep playing that game. Even if you did leave some in the tank, the next time you're gonna hit a personal record, a PR. The week after that, maybe it starts getting towards failure. And either 2 things are gonna happen. Either of 2 things. Either you never hit failure and you just get stronger and stronger into eternity, and then eventually, your lean body mass is that of the earth, and then you have your own gravitational pull, and it's kind of like worlds colliding. Either that happens and you're the new Mr. Olympia, or the other thing is eventually you hit your training failure and you're actually figuring out and finding what sufficient intensity is in training. So either way, you're gonna grow better. Just beat the logbook and make that your core driver. So me in the gym, I'm just big dumb body, and I'm just like heavier weight go up, good. And that helps me. So it's a duh if I hit a PR. You just start beating the logbook. Without sacrificing your technique. Technique is standardized. A lot of people are like, if you're just trying to beat the logbook train to failure, you're gonna be throwing weights around like this. I'm like, no, that's an assumption. Keep your solid technique, full range of motion. Make sure your reps look the same. Control your eccentrics. If you keep that consistent, you beat the logbook, you're gonna get stronger, bigger, and better. Mentality for me, it's huge for training. Before my hack squats, I get performance anxiety, not just in the bedroom, but I get performance anxiety before my hack squats a little bit. This thing is gonna be really heavy. So people, if they know me in the gym, Iron Revolution, I'm just stalking, I'm like walking back and forth, listening to music, kind of looking at the ground until like I'm ready to go. And then I'm summoning those demons, and I am making it happen, crushing those PRs. So mentality is huge. It's easier to be all in, ready to go, and getting into that locked in mentality and crushing a set rather than, like, imagine you're getting crushed by, like, let's say, for me in hack squats, 500 pounds. And I'm like, do I have 1 rep in the tank? Do I have 2 reps in the tank? And sometimes what looks like 1 rep left in the tank is actually maybe 2, maybe 3. It's just you gotta go there sometimes. And that's where you can see your true strength from just beating the logbook. You may find out you got more than you thought. I've seen better gains from doing this. I'm hitting all-time PRs. I hit 5.5 plates on hack squat, so that is 545s on each side, and the 25s. You can math that. I hit 275 pounds on incline barbell, so I'm as strong as I've been. But here's a writer downer. You can mask crappy training intensity with more volume, so more time in the gym, but you'll get more out of your volume with high intensity. And who got time for that? So especially if you're a career-driven professional, like you don't have like 2 hours to do your 40 sets in the gym. So it does make sense to get your intensity dialed in so you can get the most out of less. And if you beat that logbook over time, you're gonna be building bigger muscles. Bigger muscles move bigger weight. So train to failure, get stronger, and you probably need less volume than you think to grow. Number 2, I'm training with slightly less training volume. I used to do 4 sets for every exercise. Now I'm doing 3 sets per every exercise. Kevin, you said major changes. This is major for me. If I'm in the gym, I usually do between 5 and 10. I think there's one of my days of like 12 exercises. I think it's usually 5 to 10 exercises. And if I'm doing 4 sets per exercise, that's gonna be 20 to 40 sets. So I've reduced that to 3. Why did I make this change and what is the impact? So the reason I was doing 4 sets per exercise is because I believed volume was the core driver of hypertrophy, for gaining muscles. You just gotta do more. More is more. And that's still like some of my bias. I'm like, more is typically more, so find a way to make it happen. However, I was doing a ton of weekly volume and I started to experience dilution by volume. So I was less so having that intensity, that progression, because I had so many sets to do that I'm like, let me save some in the tank for that 4th set instead of go balls to the wall or really lock in for those sets. So the problems, again, dilution of each set. When you just have so many sets or 4 sets per exercise, the last 2, you're kind of sacrificing your first set and 2 to make sure your 3rd and 4th set go well. So you're kind of not allowing yourself to go there and get that sufficient intensity or that optimized intensity. And if driving failure, it's more feasible to... It's just how I speak, but to summon the demons for 3 sets versus 4. Just where you're really locked in, you get those angry childhood thoughts, and you're just like, you're bringing that all back, and you're like, all right, I gotta hit these squats. It's easier to do that for 3 sets rather than 4. Then you're really having to get to that mental darkness for 4 sets rather than 3. A lot of that mental stimulation. It is more feasible to do that 3 times. And then sometimes, again, you're leaving stuff in the tank for later. And that's not how you grow. Leaving stuff for later is not how you grow. It's kind of like delayed gratification. Delayed gratification to an extreme is no gratification. So you're gonna have a rest day. You are going to sleep later. You are going to recover. Take yourself there. Make sure, spend it in the gym. Get fatigued. Fatigue is the goal. A lot of people fear fatigue. Oh, I don't want to train too hard. It's so rare that someone's training too hard. So just go there. There's a clip of like David Lade training with Sumo, and I think the first like set of lat pull downs, I may even have it, the clip, but David Lade does like a set, and I think it like looks relatively easy, and Sumo's like, hey, like, was that your set? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, what happened there? He's like, oh, I'm saving some for later. We got a lot of sets to do today. And he's like, that's not how you train. That's not how you get big. And this is Mr. Olympia, like what, 6-time classic physique? Go there. Go to that failure. Make it tough. So the solution that I made on this, I went from 4 sets down to 3 sets per exercise, taking a little bit of that less is more approach, because I'm able to focus harder on those 3 sets. So my big question throughout my training career has always been, I always wondered if one person would be more jacked, make better gains by doing, let's say, 4 sets per exercise, a ton of volume for like a muscle group during the week. Compare that training system to that same person doing, like, let's say 2 to 3 sets per exercise, a little bit less volume, but they're really driving their strength gains. So someone who is stronger doing a little bit less volume, when someone is maybe less strong but doing a ton of volume, because I used to think volume drives hypertrophy. However, I am now in the belief that if it's the same person, 2 training systems, whichever makes that person more so able to lift more weight in that 5 to 30 rep range is going to have the bigger muscles, because bigger muscles move bigger weights. Writer downer. I'm convinced that you will grow more by becoming the version of yourself who can move more weight in the 5 to 30 rep range rather than survive more volume, surviving 3-hour workouts. So this is, again, not compared person to person. If you have a 315 bench and I have a 315 bench, we're gonna have probably different looking and size chests. But if I go from a 315 bench for 5 to a 365 bench for 5, my breastises are likely gonna be larger. I'm gonna have some tig bitties after that. So just keep that in mind. However, little caveat with my training mentality, like when it comes to arms for like weekly volume, like there may be some differences. This is why I'm not so bought into low volume that I'm gonna go 1 set per exercise. I still think volume is, when you have sufficient intensity and quality, that's where you can ramp up the volume a little bit, but avoiding that dilution by volume. So I'm still not convinced that 1 set per exercise is the way to go. That's why I've gone from high volume to like this part. If this is super low volume, I've kind of moved from like, 90 to 100% to maybe like 70% on the high volume train. Number 3, gaintaining. Not doing these bulks so that I get super thick and 235 pounds. So was Greg Doucette right? So Greg Doucette is a big proponent of main gain, just gain 0.5 pounds per month, get to a sufficient like lean, spot. Very slow gains, if not like just don't even gain weight. I was doing the opposite approach the last 5 years. I would get pretty lean and then I gain at like 2 to 3 pounds per month, about 1% body weight. And I would get up to 230 to 235 pounds. Not the most pretty for me. I'm 6'2", and my summer cut is usually around 215 pounds. 235, I'm getting pretty darn fluffy for myself. And I didn't feel great. But the reason I did it is I wanted a sufficient calorie surplus to maximize gains. I wasn't gaining 1 to 2 pounds per week, two-ish pounds, maybe 3 pounds per month, still a relatively lean bulk. However, what I saw is at that top end, I was getting pretty darn thick. When I got over 225 pounds, I wasn't feeling, I looked my best. I wasn't my most confident and just like, man, I look good. And the gains were okay. I can't say that gains were bad, but they, was it necessary is kind of the question. So the solutions, I tried a little bit different. I got lean for my marathon, didn't want to carry so much weight, was 215 pounds. I was carrying that around. I was like, I feel amazing. I look my best. And like, I just feel great, like pretty much all the time, even though I was running all that. So this time I was like, let me just go with like 1 pound per month and like just try to stay lean and see how like high I can get my performance. And so now I'm keeping, that happened the first probably, 3 to 5 months. I bulked up to like 220, 221, and now I'm kind of like hanging there. But my training is so good right now, I'm getting so much stronger that my take home here is I think there's something to gaintaining. I think that you can just get to a point where you feel good, you look good, you can perform well, and then just maybe slowly gain from there 0.5 pounds to 1 pound per month. Maybe if you're newer in training, it's more necessary to do that 1%. So if you're 200 pounds and lean, then maybe you want to go with that 1 to 2 pounds. But I think for me, I'm now targeting 0.5 to 1 pound, and I'm just like, I'm good. If I look good, feel good, I'm hitting PRs, it doesn't matter that much. And there was recent research that came out, I think Dr. Eric Helms was involved with it, and it just kind of showed that the high magnitudes of surplus wasn't necessary to make better gains. Even the moderate surplus, they made decent gains. And kind of the take-home point was, as long as you were getting in a lean bulk some kind of traceable amount of a calorie surplus, just knowing you're not in some form of deficit, maybe a little bit of a surplus, you're probably in a good position to optimize your gains. And so I've just been driving with that, and I've felt really good, and I am like a mini cut away from my summer lean and probably a dedicated 5 to 8 week cut from something that's gonna start getting kind of freaky for me. And so the writer downer on this one, it is the training that builds the muscle. The strength you are gaining in the gym, not how many calories you are eating that gains the muscle. It is the increased recovery this food gives us that helps increase the likelihood of hitting more PRs in the gym. It is the personal records, it is the strength progression that grows the muscle. It is not the extra food you are eating. So don't put the cart before the horse. Don't let the tail wag the dog. You wanna make sure you are driving your training. If gaining muscle in a lean bulk or a calorie surplus phase is most important to you, building muscle, drive that with pushing, beating the logbook. So those are my big rocks as far as my 3 big changes. So take homes for you guys. So I got 4. If you're writing notes. Number 1, train to failure or pretty darn close. So make sure your training is hard. 2, beat the logbook. Just simplify your training target to beat the logbook, get strong. The bigger muscles move bigger weight. Just, I've been training for so long, that's what I've come back to. Number 3, drive strength to drive gains. So adjust your volume accordingly. That biases you to give you the best chance possible at driving your strength. And again, that 5 to 30 rep range. Then 4, slow gains are fine. You don't have to get fat to build muscle. So stay in that healthy body fat range. I'd say for most males, between 10 and 20% body fat is going to be in a really good position to gain muscle. If you're like 30% body fat, you'll probably feel better and perform better getting down under 20%, and your health markers will improve. If you are contest shredded, it's probably like maybe one of you guys are watching this video because it's pretty rare. If you're 5 or 6% body fat, you're probably going to make better gains going up to, let's say, 8 to 10%, and then kind of gaintaining or slow lean bulk from there. So ultimately, I want to help you guys get more gains per minute in the gym, be more productive with your time spent doing the fitness thing. And also, if you are a career-driven professional and you want help with this area, you don't want to sacrifice your lifestyle, you want to lose, let's say, 20 pounds in the next 16 weeks, hit the link in my bio. This is the people we specialize working with in my online coaching program, the Healthy Flex Prescription. So the first link in the bio will give you a video of, explain the program and to see if it's the right fit for you and your goals. Aside from that, I hope this was helpful for you guys. Comment down below which of these 3 tips or changes you feel could be most useful for you. I'll see you guys next time. Keep it flexible. I'm out.